it's Helen with So Kind of Wonderful, and today we're talking all about the Begonia block from Floral Felicity. So I'm going to walk you through cutting your curves, sewing your curves, squaring up those curved blocks, and then assembling the flower Begonia from Floral Felicity block. This is a really fun block to make. It has a really good shape to it, a good balance of, big chunky petal part with big chunky leaves. So let's get started making the Begonia block. All right, let's talk about the Begonia block. The Begonia, first thing I'm going to do is I just kind of look at it. I already have all my pieces cut. If you are making a scrappy Begonia, here's what you'll be cutting out. We will make 2 of these in the Floral Felicity quilt. It lives right here and down here. Over here, we look at the curves. What are we cutting? I can see blue letters and black, blue and black. Okay, that information, how do we cut these curves, is back on pages 6 and 7. Here's your blue, and here are the black curves. All right, so let's just start working through these. We're cutting our curves. And remember, some of these shapes, it matters if you're right side up or right side down. All right, first one we are looking at is the petal 1. Petal 1 is the gold fabric, and it says I'm cutting 1 piece right side up and 1 piece right side down. So I'll just cut these at the same time. I have 2 of them. And yes, I know I should press that. We'll just get that. All right, so blue lines. So I am using the blue dashed line right here. The blue dashed line, and putting the corner of the fabric right here in the V of that blue dash, and I have 1 up, 1 down. Cut in your curved slot, and we are keeping all 4 pieces here. So here's how it should look. Okay, keep all 4 of those. Now we're going to do a twist C with our petal 2. That is this pink plaid. And we need 1 up, 1 down. We can cut them at the same time. So right here, line it up with the blue dashed V again, and cut in your curved slot. This is discard, and that gives us 2 shapes. Same block, just a reflection of itself. Okay, now we have the accent. This is our accent fabric, and we need 2 shimmer A. Okay, so let me process. Why do I have all these pieces? I should have 2 4 1/4. Let's find our 4 1/4. It's that one. Oh, that is a 4-inch square. Okay, so make sure you're cutting the right one. Okay, so 2 4 1/4. I'm going to cut an A. It doesn't matter if it's right side up or right side down. Ooh, my nails match my fabric on this one. Okay, discard. You have 2 A pieces. And then we're doing accent fabric shimmer B. We should have 2 3 3/4. 3 3/4. And we're making B with the black lines. So I'm just cutting this in half diagonally first. It's our first step. And I will stack all of those. I know it doesn't matter with B and A or B if it's right side up or right side down. And now I'm lining up the 3s on the 90-degree corner, trim off your points. We're making 4 B shapes. Rotate this. Now position your Wonder Curve ruler with the box corners here on the fabric. Cut in the curved slot. Throw this piece away. And you have 4 B pieces. All right, now we are doing leaves 1. This should be 4 1/4. Yes, it is. And we're cutting 2 A pieces, 2 A shapes, using the solid blue V. And cutting in our curved slot. Throw this away. And you have 2 A pieces. And then we're using our leaves 2 fabric. And we need, okay, it looks like we need a couple things here. Okay, so not that one. We're using 2 4 1/4. And I'm cutting 2 A pieces. Here I'm just lining them up on the solid blue V and cutting in my curved slot. Discard that piece, keep these 2. Because I cut this one, I'm really not sure where they're gonna live. Oh yeah, they're gonna live like this in the pattern. Oh, these are my leaves. These are my leaves down here on the bottom. Okay, so because I cut them wrong sides together and the direction was the same, they're now both going up and down, but I'm not sure I can guarantee my other pieces will do that. So I think on this one, we couldn't guarantee that it would always work, so we don't worry about them. All right. Twist D, you should have 2 3 1/2 by 5s. And we need 1 up and 1 down, so right or wrong sides together. And when you're making D, you're using the dashed blue V. So right here, line it up on the dashed blue intersection, and that gives you, oh, we don't keep this one. So this is discard. This can go in your save pile because it's a C piece. And you never know when that could come in handy. Okay, so you need 2 D pieces. And then our last thing to cut is background. And let's see, shimmer B. We should have 3 5 3/4. So this is 5 3/4. I have 3 of them. Does not matter if it's right side up or right side down. We are cutting this in half diagonally. And then line this up and put the 5s on your 90-degree sides and trim off the points, rotate, line up your solid blue box corners on the fabric, cut in the curve cutout. Those are your discards, and we need 6 of these. So right now I have 3, so we'll do it one more time. Whenever you're making the B pieces, it will start, like this one started at 5 3/4. So then we're going to line it up on the 5s and trim off those extra points. For the orange lines, it's 4 3/4, and we line up on the 4s. And for the black line, it's 3 3/4 and line up on the 3s. All right, have that. Now I should have 2 3 1/2 by 5s. They need to be wrong or right sides together. And I'm making D and C. So line it up right here on the blue dashed line. Hold it securely, cut in your curve slot. So here are our pieces. Excellent. And we have one more. What have we got? We have one more thing. We should have 4 2.5 by 2.5. Okay, not that one. So all 4 of these are 2.5 by 2.5. I am making 4 A's with the black lines. So here the black V, solid V is here. And you might be noticing that I actually have some extra black lines printed on my ruler. So in July of 2023, we added additional black lines on the Wonder Curve ruler, very similar to the other colors. So if you need those in a pattern that we're working on, we always give you a sheet how to add it to your ruler, or you can purchase a new one that has updated marks, but we always tell you how to add it. Okay, we need all 4 of these. All right, we have cut everything. We've cut all the curves. So we're gonna turn the page and get ready for sewing curves. Okay, I have turned the page. Here you can see we're going to set it up into our curved sets. And I'm just looking ahead. We are only making our AB shape and our CD shape. So we're just gonna set it up exactly how the book shows, how the pattern shows. So we need 2 ABs that are the accent. So we need the accent and background. And I like to just set it up how the book shows. So just like that. And then we need 2 more backgrounds and our leaves 1. So we had 2 of these. And then our last 2 backgrounds and leaves 2. So all your A's and B's are sewing together. And then remember how we cut A's and B's with our small little black lines? So that's this set. You have 4 of each. And if I'm following my book, this would come out, this would live right there. And then we have petal 1. So we have 1 of these and this one. Remember, this is the one that should look like a rectangle. And then we have it going this direction. And now we have the gold with the pink, or petal 2. And then we have 1 more CD set like this. Okay, so we are ready for, we're ready to go sew. Okay, so one thing, when I go to the sewing machine, and I'm going to show you how to sew the AB and the CD. And we have CD this way and CD this way. So we always have all right, I'm going to show you, I'll show you how to set it up at the sewing machine. But let me just show you when I walk over to the sewing machine, this is what I'm doing. So that I just put the C on the D, and I will have a whole stack of these ready to go. And I know which one goes to, like it's just those first 2. So this is kind of my method. I know you're going to get your own method, but when I go to my sewing machine, that's what I'm taking with me. And I just know I pick up those first two shapes and sew those together. So maybe that helps you. All right, we'll set up at the sewing machine and I'll show you how to set up your curves. So for easy sewing. All right, at the sewing machine, we sew with the concave stays on the left and the convex will flip over, and your pattern tells you if you leave a tail. So I believe on this one, it's a quarter inch. It's like a fat quarter inch. And position under your presser foot. Sew a few stitches and then hold one piece in each hand. And you're going to try it both ways. Find the one that's comfortable for you. As it feeds, I'm watching right here as it goes under the presser foot. That's where my fabric comes together. That's where the curves match. And the main thing is for me not to pull on this bottom one, not to pull it straight. And there is your curved seam. Okay, so all the ABs sew together that way. When we sew our CDs together, you still have your concave on the left. Convex flips over. This is a quarter inch tail. So D extends a quarter inch above C. And then again, sew a couple stitches. And if I get it in a good position, then I just hold it tight and let it feed through, and I just hold it on the left as it feeds. And there's that one. And then the other direction is, concave is on the left again. Concave stays down. But now we're starting from the other end. And a quarter inch tail again. Whoops. I did not feed that right. Yep. All right, let's try again. And we're out of bobbin thread. That's what's... All right, let's try this again. I had to put in some new bobbin thread. And there we have it. Really great curved seam. Okay, so go ahead and sew all of your curves just like that. And then you're going to press to your focus. So whatever the focus fabric is, or press away from the background. So for this one, I'll press to my C. Trying to see if you have any that have two focus together. Nope, they all have background. So press toward the focus fabric on all of the blocks. It might be this one or this one. I wanted to also show you the sewing for the small AB made with the black lines. So again, concave is on the bottom, and here you're leaving a quarter inch tail. So that's what it'll look like when it's set up. And then you just, the curve's not any different, it's just shorter, less less to sew. And I kind of just pinch it on the left and go ahead and sew your curve. So do that with all 4 of those. All the curves are sewn, and here I've pressed to the focus fabric on all of these to press to A. And then here I pressed to C. This one I pressed to D because that's the focus. And then this one where you have focus on both sides, you can press, I press to the pink. It seems to want to lay that way naturally. So, all right, so at this stage, we are going to square up some blocks. So I'm going to put these in sets that are the same orientation or the same shape. Okay, so those, on this one, this little AB, I pressed to the B because that's the focus fabric. Okay, so we have ABs, ABs, C and D. So the first square up we're going to do is the AB here. And for this one, it squares up to a 4x4. So I like to use my Sew Square 4 whenever I can. It's just a little bit faster. So for this one, we are looking at the curved seam, and we are going to put the black dot right on the curved seam. And if you need to shift it a little bit, you have the whole curved seam to work with, so you can align everything. Zoom in. So there you can see the black dot is on the curved seam. Hold it securely. For this one, I'm just rotating my cutting mat, this little cutting mat, and then that gives me my AB. Okay, so I would do that with all of my ABs here. All right. Now let's do it with, let's show you the little teeny one. And again, you're always going to set up just how the book shows. So the book shows it with this orientation where your B is top right. Again, if you are left-handed, everything just turns 90 degrees to the left. Just turn your book and then make it look like the picture with everything turned 90 degrees to the left. So here I have black dots right here on the Wonder Curve ruler, and I'm positioning those right on the curve. We'll zoom in a little more. So here are the black dots, and those go right on the curved seam. I'm going to make a 2-inch square. So I trim 2 sides and then lift the ruler, rotate the block 180, and put trimmed edges on 2-inch marks, because that's our final size, and trim whatever's left. Okay. All right, so we have those. So we'll square up all those. Now for the next set, we have 3 this way and 3 this way. So just pick the set that that the book shows first. So we'll pick this one. And here we're making a 2 1/4 by 4-inch block. First step is to put the 2-inch mark on the curved seam here at the top of your block. And then the blue dot on the Wonder Curve ruler is on the curved seam down here at this bottom edge. Just scoot this up a little bit, just like that. Okay, now we're making a 2 1/4 by 4. So let's trim 2 sides, rotate your block. Here, remember, don't turn your ruler when you switch your block around. Just kind of move the ruler out of the way, rotate the block, and then put the ruler back down with 2 1/4 and 4 lined up on trimmed edges. So I'm at 2 1/4 and 4, and then trim whatever is left. Okay. And then we have the other direction. For the other direction, let's use that same color. Okay, let's do this one. So here, we're going to put the 2-inch mark on the right side this time. 2-inch mark, and then the blue dot is on the curved seam. And you've got the whole curved seam to play with. So if you need to adjust it with directional fabric, then set it up and then trim 2 sides, rotate the block, put trimmed edges back down with 2 1/4 and 4 lined up on trimmed edges here and here, and then trim whatever is left. Trim off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of my remaining blocks. All right, next steps in the begonia pattern. We are going to make some half square triangles. And here we are using our 5x5 fabrics of leaves 1 and leaves 2. So we're going to draw diagonal lines on the back side here, and then we're going to pair them with the other fabric, and sew a 1/4 inch on each side of that drawn line. So, all right, grabbing my pencil, and here is my line. Oh, that's very faint, but you know what I'm doing. Okay. Do that a couple times. Okay. So draw, stitch a 1/4 inch from each side, on each side of that line. All right, I have stitched on each side of my line. Let's see if I can show you. So there, I've stitched on each side. And let me now just cut right on the draw line. And then here we are going to press seams to the teal one. So press this direction. And then we will square this up to 4 inches. All right, 4 inches means I get to use my Sew Square 4 and my turning mat. And Sew Square 4 has a 45 through the center. So I am positioning that right on my seam. And then go ahead and trim 2 sides, and then I'm going to rotate it and trim my other 2 sides. So I'll square up all my half square triangles just like that. We are at step 9 of the begonia block. No, we did 9. That's half square triangles. We are at step 10. So here we are going to, oh, okay. All right, I just noticed something back on step 9. All right, if you have directional fabric that really is screaming directional fabric, there is a suggestion there to do one block. There's set 1 is your first example, have your directional fabric up and down, and then on set 2, set it up where it's going this way. That way, if you have, you know, directional fabric that is just screaming, pay attention to me, there's a suggestion. All right. We are going to assemble the flower portion of the begonia block. So here, we're just going to lay everything out first. And then we'll talk about what needs to be sewn together first. So here, you're just looking at your example and laying things out, you know, swapping pieces around as needed. So here you can see that's the base of the flower. Here's the accent in the middle. And then I'm going to use some of these CD blocks. So I have this one and this one. And this is why we need that mirrored shape, so that, oh, this is so fun. Okay, this is probably my favorite flower block in the pattern. I don't know why, but I really like this one. So those two little pieces, you've got several little filler pieces here. And what have we got going on up there? So up here we have these little guys. We're kind of making a fun accent piece. And oh, what are these? These are 2 by 3 1/4. So you might need to measure a few pieces. Make sure you've got the right pieces you're sewing in. And then 2 1/2 by 6 1/4. Okay. All right, so there's a lot going on here. So we're just going to break it down into units, and the pattern suggests sewing together the dashed sections first. So here, this little section needs to be sewn together, and this one. So to do that, we'll sew this into a row, and then we'll press seams open and sew it here. Here, sew that into a row, press seams open, sew it to the piece above it, and then we'll be able to sew this into a row, and a row, press everything open, all the seams open, and then we'll sew our rows together. So first steps, we're going to work on these. Okay, I just had a thought, like if you're like filling, oh, all right, I could totally swap some of these and make at least some of the background line up according to, you know, it has a very light, I mean, we've told you the stripes don't bother me when they go other directions because it's so faint. It kind of blends in after you get all the quilting on. So yeah, could look like that. These sections are sewn together. So now I can sew 1, 2, 3, 4 into a row and press seams open. So there, and then these all can sew into a row, and this press seams open, and then we'll sew the rows together. Here I have the top of the begonia sewn into rows, pressed all seams open here, here, and here. And now I will sew the rows together and press the seams open. Here I have the begonia top sewn together, seams are pressed open, and at this stage I will actually check my measurements. It should be 15 1/2 by 11. And I can tell I'm a little, like this edge here and this edge, it's straight but it's not exact. And all that's going to happen when I sew my blocks together is that little bit of fullness will create a little fluffiness. So I just trimmed off like 1/16 of an inch because you'll match up your edges when you're sewing, and that will really help flatten out the block. So that's something just to do. Like you can see, why is that? Because you have lots of seams in here and you're not sewing perfectly 1/4 inch, even though you're trying. So here's what happens. That grew a teeny bit. So here is where you trim it. And that side had even an 1/8 inch there. So that's helpful for me to kind of clean up those edges at this stage. Okay, now let's work on the bottom section of the begonia. So here we are going to do our stem. And again, let's just lay out all the pieces. Here you're going to have your C and D. And a spacer here, spacer. I think we're missing, oh, we need one more. We need this one. Here. And then here's where we'll make our leaves with our, let's see, so it'll look like this with your half square triangles. And then you'll have this side. Oh, yep, I can see what I'm doing, but I'll show it to you and then we'll talk about design options. So here we have all the teal fabric, teal, green. So Jenny and I decided that that's one option, or you could switch it and break up the teal fabrics and have the green part of the leaf here. So obviously your choice. You could even put, you could even, how else could you mix it up? I guess you could do some of this. I mean, obviously we like what we showed in the book, so let's just make what's there. Okay, so here we do need to sew some pieces together first. So we need to sew these into sections. So these 4 blocks, sew them into rows, press seams open, sew rows together. Yep. And then up here, we're going to sew those and press seams open. And then we can sew them into columns. Then we'll sew columns, add the stem, press seams open. Here I have the 2 columns sewn together, press seams open. Now I will sew the 3 parts and then press seams towards the stem. If you need to really flatten out some intersections, you could press that stem seam open, but you can also press to the stem. Here is the leaf section all sewn together, and now it is time to sew our 2 parts together. We'll sew together and press our seam open on this one. Here is our begonia block. It looks great. I love the balance of it. I like the big chunky leaves here balanced with the big, petal top. And you can see how I press things on the back. Things to help you sew these 2 parts together. The seams here should line up or be very close. It's just a very fun block to make. So that's your begonia block for the Floral Felicity pattern.